All right, what is happening is now out of control. Right now, in the latest period, we've got, for the full month of March, 170,000 migrants have been picked up from the border during that time. That represents a 70% increase, not from the prior year, from the prior month, and it's accelerating. A source of concern to Chad Wolf, of course, the former acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Heritage Foundation visiting fellow. Chad, always good to see you. You know, these numbers are accelerating at a beyond incredible pace, so we could play semantics with this and call that a crisis or just a serious situation, but it is out of control. No indication right now that they're getting any sense of control. Where do you think this is going?
Well, you're absolutely right, Neil. We not only see the overall numbers accelerating, we see minors accelerating, we see family units, and all of these numbers are very concerning. At the end of the day, though, if they continue to treat this crisis as a capacity issue and continue to build more facilities and throw more and more money at it, it's only going to encourage additional numbers of migrants coming across that border. So we're in April now, so April, May, June, July, you're going to continue to see these numbers increase until they start to get serious about enforcement of our laws on that southern border, until they start treating the problem. And the problem is the illegal activity, and it's not simply trying to build more and more facilities. We should absolutely take care of these folks that come into our custody, but you have to address the illegal activity that's going on to stem the surge that we're seeing today.
In the meantime, the president released what they call a skinny budget, $1.5 trillion. It's not exactly skinny to me, but these numbers just, glaze over time. But there's really no more money in that for border wall funding. It's reallocated into other areas, such as looking at the source of the problem and helping refugees and all of that, but no more border wall funding. What did you make of that?
Yeah, well, that's just completely unfortunate. I think what you have to do both of those issues. So you have to not only look at the root causes of the illegal migration that we see, but we know that solution is not in the short term. That's a multi-year problem to address. And right now, the border is on fire. You need to take care of it. You need to address that, not only for the law enforcement officials working on that border, but also the communities along that border. And so you need to take immediate action, and finishing the border wall system is part of that, but also reinstituting some of these policies and procedures that have worked over the last year and a half is absolutely critical to getting this under control.
You know, Secretary, this wasn't specifically part of the president's new budget, but he is considering and looking quite seriously at the possibility of cash payments to Central Americans, particularly from much poorer countries like Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, as a way to prevent them from finding the need to get to the border in their own right. What do you make of that approach, essentially pay to not go to the border?
It's an absolutely absurd approach. Not only will it not work, it will likely, again, continue to see those numbers until they start enforcing the law. I don't know why we would pay individuals and families in the Northern Triangle and elsewhere not to come to the border versus just enforcing our law. And that's what needs to occur. That's what we did over the past 3 or 4 years. You have to enforce the law. You have to have consequences to illegal behavior. Otherwise, the bad behavior is going to continue. They're going to, if this is actually true, they'll continue, or they'll pay families, and then you'll still see those same families showing up at the border, getting into the U.S., wanting to try to make a life here. So, again, it's not the right approach. You have to get serious about enforcing the law on the border for any of this to stop, or at least to stem the flow of the crisis that we see today.
I'm just wondering, Secretary, they're running out of facilities. I know in Dallas they've set up, I think in a university gymnasium, a facility for some of the migrant minors. 3 other facilities throughout the United States, as far as California and Virginia, for some others. What is the procedure for something like this? These are unprecedented movements of migrants. I understand that, but who polices that? How much is done to facilitate that?
Well, I think the challenge that you're seeing here, Neil, is that because the numbers are so overwhelming, 172,000 illegal apprehensions just in the last month alone, is that we don't have the infrastructure built for this. The system is not designed to operate this way. And so the Biden administration is breaking the system at the moment. And so you're seeing the need for additional facilities that we've never needed before. So they're bringing those on in a very quick fashion, temporary facilities that don't have the same government oversight as you would have normal licensed facilities. And I think that is concerning to a number of folks. But again, you're going to continue to see this over the next several months. They're going to have to bring on more and more capacity because the numbers keep increasing. I think it was over 20,000 minors in the month of March alone. And so you're going to see more and more of these facilities come online because, again, they're not addressing the issue at the border and trying to stop the illegal behavior.
Secretary Roberta Jacobson, as the border czar, is leaving. Now, she said at the outset that this was only going to be a 100-day job. I don't recall that at the time, but I'll take her at her word. What did you make of that? Now there's no border czar. I don't know if we need one, but I thought that role was going to be filled by the Vice President Kamala Harris. What do you make of all that?
Well, what I would say is we're a little over 2 months into this crisis, and this is going to go on for a considerable amount of time. And so any individual, any official leaving the Biden administration this early into the crisis is concerning. What we know about Ambassador Jacobson is she's a diplomat. And I think at this point in time, you need less diplomatic speak, and you actually need actions that are going to stem the tide and the surge that we see at the border. So I think talking with Mexico, talking with the Northern Triangle countries is important. You must do that. But it's past time that we see actual enforcement of our laws on the border to address this issue, sending these minors, sending the family units back to their home countries in relatively short fashion to send the signal that the border is not open. And until we do that, again, you're going to see these historic numbers that we saw in March.
Chad Wolf, thank you very much for updating that. We'll keep an eye on it, as will you.